Welcome back to Tokened Up. We're going to be doing our first ever set review, starting with Smash and Destroy. So for this, we're largely just going to be going over the commons, uncommons, and rares this episode, and then we'll do the higher rarity in the following episode. We're still waiting on one or two of the higher rarities to be revealed. I wish they would have dropped an entire set list, but we're going to work with what we got. So in this set, it is Smash and Destroy, so of course it's themed around big characters that are breaking down walls, and we're using terrain in new ways. There is a sub-theme here for Asgardians, which I think is really cool, and we'll hit on them as we go through, and we'll kind of keep an eye in the kind of a pulp mindset, where we're looking at commons, uncommons, rares for both like constructed pulp and for sealed events. And so we're going to be starting with the 001 Hulk. Now keep in mind that some of these pieces in the set are broken down into A, B, C, like there's multiple variants of specific numbers, and we see that with the 001. So we've got A, B, and C here for Hulk. We've got Avengers, Brute, Monster, Scientist with the Avengers team ability. And this 001A Hulk is 50 points. We're looking at KOs on click 7 with 10 speed charge, 10 attack super strength, 17 defense invulnerability, and 3 damage top dial. He does get better attack and damage as he clicks down, but loses his charge fairly quickly. But what's interesting here is he's got this trait, Hulk is bigger. When Hulk KOs an opposing character of 30 points or more, so let's keep an eye on those kind of characters. Normally we do anyway, just looking for people to work with Prime Kingpin, but in this case we're looking for things that get KO'd. So it says, after resolutions, you may replace him with a character named Hulk of 70 points or less. And so if we look at 001B, we have a very, very similar dial. We've got an extra 2 clicks of health. All of the same keywords, it looks like. No, we gained one. Let's see. We gained the Defenders keyword on the B side. So Avengers, Defenders, Brute, Monster, Scientist. We keep the Hulk, or we keep the Avengers TA. We get a new special damage power that we gain down dial. And the 001B is 70 points. So 20 more points for 2 clicks of health. That adds up. We start with an extra attack. We start with 1 extra defense. And we gain this special damage, special attack power as we go down dial, which is Gamma Smash, Quake, but hit characters are dealt 3 damage instead. And then we still have that Hulk is stronger trait. When Hulk KOs an opposing character of 30 points or more, after resolutions you may replace him with a character named Hulk of 100 points or less, which you may have guessed it, brings us into 001C. This is a 100 point Hulk. So from the way these are meshed out, if you end up opening all 3 or have all 3, if you KO a character, you can go from the A to the B side, and then when Hulk KOs another character, you can level him up to C. So going from a 50 point character all the way up to a 100 point character if you do the whole gambit. And so this Hulk, we gain another keyword again, it looks like. We get Avengers, Defenders, Shield, Brute, Monster, and Scientist. We're keeping the Avengers TA. And then we have a new trait here. Hulk is the strongest one there is. Willpower. When Hulk uses it, if you replace a character this game, he succeeds on a 3 through 6. So he is going to be in your face. He's going to be taking a token off pretty much every turn. And then we have a 10 click long dial this time. So we've got KO clicks on the 11th click. Improved movement blocking, which is new as well. We just break blocking as we go through it. And then our stats are another +1 on attack, defense, and then now damage as well. So we started out 001A at 10, 10, 17, 3. On the B side, we go 10, 11, 18, 3. And then for our C side, we're 10, 12, 19, 4. So pretty big upgrade there. And we keep the special damage power, or special attack power on clits 6, 7, 8, and 9. So kind of awkwardly halfway down the dial there. And it's Quake, but hit characters are dealt 3 damage instead. And when Hulk knocks back an opposing character, knockback damage dealt to that character is penetrating, which is really cool. One thing to note for these Hulks is that when you replace a character with someone from the sideline, they came in on the same click number, so you don't get to cheat back to click 1 every time. But for Hulk, that may be a good thing, because you end up, most Hulks get more and more powerful as you go down their dial, and this one's no exception. We end up losing the charge to eventually gain leap climb, and then we lose leap climb to gain flurry later on. And our defense upgrades from invulnerability to impervious pretty far down the dial. And then we go from no damage power to battle fury. So you really want this Hulk to be at about click 5, which is very close to dying on the A side. But on the B side, that's where his special damage power special attack power starts. And then on the C side, that's when we're at impervious and battle fury. So like most Hulks, you want him to take damage. And this honestly seems really good. You always need just a pretty decent beat stick. 10 speed charge top dial is just great. And there is a noticeable increase starting with the B side. Because of course you get the 1 extra defense and the 1 extra attack plus the longer dial for only 20 more points. And then that C side is quite a beater. So yeah, overall I'd say Hulk looks really good in terms of just your general pack filler. If you open this in sealed, you're generally going to want to play it, it looks like. Very similar to opening up Animal Man in Masters of Time. Like you're just going to put them on there, you're going to get in their face, and you're just going to go toe to toe with whoever you want. And you get the upside of potentially being able to level up this character while kind of saving points on the build for other things. So overall, I'd say pretty solid. Probably, if we're going to put a grade ranking on it, probably get a C grade. Like you're not upset about it being on the team, but you'd kind of hope it might be a little bit more. It's pretty good. Solid character. So we're going to go down to 002. This is Valkyrier. We have Asgardian, Herald, Mystical, Warrior keywords. And then we have the trait Savior of the Slain, unique modifier. If a character was KO'd this turn, Valkyrier and adjacent friendly characters modify defense +2. And Valkyrier is 35 points. We do have flight here, 4 clicks of health. And we start with charge at 8 speed, blades with an 11 attack, toughness with a 17 defense, and probability control with 3 damage. I love prob on a common piece, especially in sealed. That just feels amazing. This unique modifier doesn't care if it's a friendly or an opposing character. So that's a little bit more difficult to set up in sealed just because you don't really have any way to like generate bystanders and kill things on your own on purpose. But when this does pop off, this is a major buff. So you really want to play your team tight together if you're playing with a Valkyrier. And charge blades is just great. If you get knocked off of your probability control clicks, you go down to sidestep and close combat expert. And at the very end of the dial, you pick up phasing teleport and a 19 defend, and you get the prob back. So this looks like a really solid character. Overall, I'd be very happy to pull this. Any kind of prob in a sealed environment is great. And +2 defense means that if someone kills one of your pieces, you are Probably not losing another one that turn unless they're just rolling like crazy. And we're 35 points, so we're above the threshold for 30, which might end up being important in this set. Overall, pretty solid. I'd give this like a B-. I'm happy to see prob, but it's probably not doing a whole lot else. Of having charged blades is nice, and it's flying, so you can carry other people. But in general, if your prob is the most furthest thing up because you're getting offensive with it, there's a good chance you're going to lose that prob. But if you land on this 19 defend, you are very happy. Because 19 defend plus this unique modifier means that your team is not getting touched and sealed. So 003, we've got the damage control worker. This guy has the shield team ability. Keywords are damage control and shield. We have a trait, damage control, writing estimates. This is a power. Until your next turn, damage control worker has once per action. When an opposing effect destroys one or more pieces of blocking terrain within range, after resolutions, remove an action token from a friendly character. It does say once per action, so if you have someone that can move through blocking, you could sidestep through, take an action token off, and then do an actual action and potentially destroy something else. And you'd be able to remove multiple things based on how many actions it's taking you to proc this. We are at 20 points. We have sidestep here. We have 4 clicks of health for 20 points, 3 range, and then we start with a 6 speed sidestep, 9 attack, 16 toughness on the defense, and 1 damage. If we take a bit of damage, clicks 3 and 4, we end up picking up barrier, which is quite nice, and poison. So this might not be a bad person to take 1 hit, but not much more than that. He is 20 points, so we will activate the Hulk and anyone else that cares about 30 points or less. Overall, by itself, I'm not too excited about this one. The shield TA is probably not going to do a lot for us in sealed. If this whole set is based around, Hulks and Colossus and Juggernaut, like characters like that are breaking down walls and things, you're probably not going to have a lot of very strong ranged attackers for that shield to really benefit. And taking a full power action to remove action tokens might be helpful, but you're definitely not building your whole team around this unless you have some way to really crank this up to 11. So as is, I'm probably not very happy to see this in the pack in terms of a sealed environment, but it might have some potential if you're playing a little bit more constructed with the CUR, if you can take this and kind of really crank it to the next level. So overall, probably looking at like a D if we're going to give it a grading scale. Going to go down to Los Diablos Soldier, 004A. 004 split into A and B. We've got the police team ability. Keywords are Hulkbuster and Soldier. This is 25 points for 5 clicks of life. That is insane. You're getting double the rate that you'd expect on health versus points. We are 5 range and double bolts, which is really, really solid. They really like handing out 4 range just in general. So let's take a look. We've got 7 speed Force Blast, 11 attack Incapacitate, 17 toughness, and 2 damage enhancement. I like that we have enhancement and the police TA on someone who could potentially be a range attacker themselves. This looks like they're going to work very well in multiples. We don't have any move and attack. We just have this knockback. And Incapacitate doesn't do a fantastic job of getting through reducers or anything else. So overall, it looks like a really well-balanced, cheap support piece. And these I wouldn't be too upset about, especially if we had them in multiples, like I said, or another ranged attacker. These could be pretty good. Getting 5 clicks of life for 25 points is kind of insane. Like, that is awesome in like a current environment. Overall, I'd put these guys at a C-. Like, they're not going to carry the team, but super cost effective in terms of points. And then we have the B side. the Los Diablos officer. We keep the police team ability. The keywords are Hulkbusters and Soldier. So we have the special attack power, Fire the Iceberg Rocket. Power, range 6, improved targeting through hindering and elevated, which is really nice. Make a ranged attack. Instead of normal damage, a hit character is given 2 action tokens, and all characters adjacent to that character are given 1 action token. Very cool way to lock down a main target. We are 30 points for 5 clicks of life, which is above rate again, which is nice. We've got 4 range with 1 bolt. And then we're starting out with an 8 speed stealth. We get this special attack power with 11 attack, 17 willpower, and 2 damage leadership. After we take 2 clicks of damage, we go down to sidestep, and then we end up getting mastermind and enhancement. And we eventually get penetrating blast on the attack. Pretty solid. It'd be really nice having leadership in the common slot. He is very low points, and Hulkbusters and Soldiers doesn't give you a lot to work with in terms of team ability, but we might end up with a little soldier or a police officer sub-theme here, in which case that'd work really well, and I'm sure Hulkbusters is going to come up quite a bit in a Hulk-based set. In terms of a common leadership, I'm really happy to see that. This character is probably not doing much else beyond that, though. If you can pull off this Fire the Iceberg Rocket to make somebody lose a turn on their main attackers, that is massive. So I'd probably give this character another C-. Probably a little bit below the Soldier, but if you need that leadership for 30 points, that's not bad at all. And then 005 Ant-Man, we've got the team player, team ability. Keywords are Avengers, Damage Control, Shield, Thunderbolts, and Warrior. We have a special trait, Damage Control, Shrinking Past the Rubble. Power action. Ant-Man and adjacent friendly characters can use tiny size and improved movement blocking. This isn't destroy blocking, you just move through the blocking, which is nice. We have 30 points for this Ant-Man with 5 clicks of health, which is again above rate. That's pretty solid. 0 range with 2 bolts. We start out with 8 speed stealth, which may not come up that much in this set unless we get a lot more of these soldier type characters that are trying to attack from range. This looks like a very melee heavy set. 11 attack with no powers, 18 defense with combat reflexes, and then we go into 3 damage in power, and this character is tiny. I see a tiny character with Empower, and I immediately think this is good, because you can carry this with your Hulks, all of your other close melee attackers that we're going to expect to see in this set, and that by itself, without anything else on this dial, already tells me this is playable. Having combat reflexes top dial is also awesome, because if you're putting this guy in melee with you anyway, having a 20 defense is going to be really hard to crack. Once you take a bit of damage, you go down to super senses and eventually hit up perplex, and we gain precision strike and sidestep as well, before going back to combat reflexes on the last 2 clicks. This character is probably going to overperform based on what it looks like, purely for this tiny size and power. I'm going to give this a C+. I'm expecting this to work really well with other things in the set. The power action being called Damage Control, Shrinking Past the Rubble, and if we look back at the Damage Control worker as 003, that trait was also called Damage Control Writing Estimates. So if we have any character in here that improves this Damage Control style trait, it's probably going to have a lot of impacts, which means this Ant-Man will also combine with that. And team player is, of course, super flexible. So I think this Ant-Man is going to be a really nice flex pick that might bring a couple of different smaller archetypes into good playability. I'd be really excited to see this in a pack. 006, we're going down to arcade. We have the Masters of Evil team ability, which is going to be huge in a set with a lot of close attacks because then you can really drop down those defenses. We have the Assassin and Robot keywords, and a trait called Trapped Murder Bots. When Arcade is KO'd by an opponent's attack after resolutions, roll a d6. 1 through 3 give the attacker an action token. We're seeing a lot of action tokens in these lower point value traits here. And then 4 through 6 deal the attacker 1 penetrating damage protected pulse wave. That's really nice. Arcade is 25 points for 4 clicks of health. We are starting out with 0 range, 1 bolt, a 7 speed plasticity, an 11 attack blades, claws, fangs, a 17 defense toughness, and a 2 damage range combat expert. I wonder if this is a misprint of some kind because we have range combat expert plus 0 range. So maybe there's something that is designed for Arcade to play with that gives them range for this to matter. But I'm assuming we're supposed to have 4 range here if I had to guess. Or that's just a misprint on the damage power. But after we take 2 damage and get to click 3, we go off of blades and gain poison, and then gain empower at the bottom of the dial. I'm going to assume that this character is designed to be played with another character to make this make sense a little bit. Because in this Hulk-based set, we have plasticity with the only way to protect ourselves being toughness. So this character is kind of designed to run in, tie something up, and then die. Which by itself just tells me I'm giving up points. So I'm going to need to see something else to make this worth my while. The best thing about this that I can see right now is Masters of Evil, but I expect we're going to look back at this once we get to something in the rares and reevaluate it a little bit. Right now, wouldn't be too excited to see it in the pack. And then we get to Absorbing Man. We're going to have to buckle up for this one because we've got A, B, C, D, E, F, and G Absorbing Man. And this looks like a shifting focus kind of character based on all of these. I noticed right away that all of our other variants are different colors. So I'm assuming this is Absorbing Man taking on different aspects of terrain and augmenting his powers based on that. All of them are 8 clicks long and 75 points. So slightly above rate. They seem to all have the Absorbing Man trait. Okay, I see how this works. We'll just start with the front one. So we've got Absorbing Man and then back to normal. Depending on which Absorbing Man you're playing, A through G, this will be titled a little bit differently, but they all start with Absorbing Man and then whatever material they're going into. So Absorbing Man, titanium, gamma, fire, diamond, water, and Uru metal. And then they each have a different requirement to activate this sideline active. So it says at the beginning of your turn, you may replace a friendly character with an Absorbing Man trait with Absorbing Man. If you do, after resolutions, heal Absorbing Man 3 clicks. And so this is the A side here. And that tells me that you're really going to want to pull this A side purely to give yourself the longevity. Because if you're healing 3 clicks every other turn, it's going to be super hard to take down this Absorbing Man, even without looking at any of the others. So this A side is important for keeping yourself healthy and alive. So we've got the trait called Ball and Chain, which gives us Giant Reach 3, which is massive. I may have forgotten to mention it, but the A side has Masters of Evil team ability. And then keywords are Alpha Flight, Hulkbusters, Masters of Evil, Brute, and Mystical. And then we're starting at 75 points, like I said, 8 clicks of life, an 8-speed leap climb, 11 attack quake, 18 damage invulnerability, and 3 damage empower. So without a move and attack, I'd be pretty hard pressed to start on this side if I pulled multiple Absorbing Mans. But by himself, let's say we only pulled A in a sealed environment. Honestly, not bad. And Empower means he's going to play well with others. No move and attack is a little bit rough for 75 points, especially if this is going to be your main attacker. But Giant Reach 3 is not to be underestimated. We are normal size, so we're not going to be able to see over other people. But in general, this is going to be just like any other Hulk plays. You're going to want to get him in. As he takes damage, he gets a little bit more powerful. We leave the Leap Climb and pick up Flurry pretty early on the dial. Get Leap Climb back for 2 clicks, and then get Flurry again on our last click. And then we do something very similar with the attack powers. We go from Quake into Super Strength, and then back into Quake. For defense, we have Invulnerability, drop down to Toughness. And then for damage, we have Empower for 4. And then we drop down to Shape Change on the back end of the dial. So gaining a rollout with a shifting focus character is really nice because it might buy you the turn to shift into something more dangerous for offense and then shift back into this Absorbing Man to heal up. Because remember, when we're replacing ourselves, we stay on the same click number. So let's take a look at the B side. We have Absorbing Man, Titanium. It looks like all the keywords stay the same. So what's Titanium trying to do? It says sideline active. When a friendly character with an Absorbing Man trait destroys one or more pieces of blocking terrain after resolutions, shift into Titanium. That's really nice because the A side has Quake. We can destroy whatever the heck we want. We just got to get close to it. We lose the Giant Reach 3 and instead have a special defense power for a majority of the dial. That's just Invincible, Protected Outwit, so very, very tanky. Improved Movement Blocking, which is also an upgrade. Like I said, they're all 75 points for 8 clicks. And we have this speed power that is Plasticity for 7 speed, 11 attack, super strength, this 19 special defense Invincible, and a 3 damage Battle Fury. Our defense peaks in the middle of the dial where we lose Plasticity and gain Charge. We keep the super strength, go up to a 20 Invincible, and then our Battle Fury will eventually transform into Exploit Weakness when we pick up Precision Strike, and then we end up back on Plasticity. So really solid defensive option here. This looks like we destroy blocking terrain and then have the option to come into this guy to really hold it down on the defensive turn and then potentially switch back in the future. So let's take a look at this Gamma Infused Absorbing Man. Sideline active. When a friendly character with an Absorbing Man trait is hit by a character that can use Pulse Wave, Quake, or Super Strength, you have the option to bring in this Absorbing Man. So you're really going to have to keep an eye on which Absorbing Mans you have on the sideline and what triggers you're looking for. Because you don't have to be hit by these 3 powers, Pulse Wave, Quake, or Super Strength. They just have to be able to use those powers. So keeping an eye on the field will be very helpful for seeing what's available to you. And then this is more of a support piece, it looks like. We have Outwit on our special damage powers. Adjacent opposing characters cannot use Protected or Safeguard Outwit. That is massive, especially in these sets where you're really hoping to reduce damage. Being able to remove your Protected Outwit and outwit you ourselves, so it's all contained in one character, is huge. So we've got 8 speed Charge, 11 attack Poison, 18 Invulnerable, and then this 3 damage special outwit power. After a couple clicks, we drop down to Toughness and Enhancement, which is interesting. Enhancement doesn't really help with our Masters of Evil team ability because that has to be close. That enhancement's a little bit awkward, but we've got a bunch of other enhancement in this set, so maybe that'll come in clutch depending on your team. And we end up picking up Steel Energy, and then we'll eventually get Plasticity down the dial. So I like the Move and Attack. He's the first one we have with Move and Attack top dial. So not too bad. Let's go down to the D side. This is Absorbing Man Fire. When can we bring him in? Well, that's whenever an Absorbing Man is hit by a character that can use Energy Explosion, Poison, or Range Combat Expert. And then after resolutions, you can replace it with Absorbing Man. So interesting to note here, this isn't a once per turn requirement. So let's say you get hit by a character that has Range Combat Expert or Energy Explosion. You can immediately switch into this fire after resolutions. And then let's say you get hit by a character with Super Strength. Well, then you can immediately switch into this Gamma Infused Absorbing Man we just looked at. So you're going to have to be really active while you play this Absorbing Man to keep an eye on these triggers, because these are not once per turn. You're simply looking for something to happen, and if it happens, you've got the chance to do it. So we've got a special defense on this fire side. It says Super Senses. When Absorbing Man uses it and succeeds, after resolutions, deal 2 damage to the attacker. That's really nice. We have 4 range and 1 bolt. I think this is the first time we have a range stat here. 8 running shot, 12 attack, Energy Explosion, this 17 defense with the special senses, and then 4 damage shape change. That is nuts. This is easily the best range attacker we've seen. They don't really like putting 4 damage on range attackers, but this is 4 damage, and we've already seen 2 different ways to put enhancement in the set, so you could crank this damage easily, especially with the soldiers that have PD on them. This Absorbing Man Fire, just by itself, I'm going to be very happy to see pulled from a pack. This guy is going to unironically bring the heat. But we're going to eventually lose the Running Shot Energy Explosion and pick up Force Blast Pulse Wave. Holy crap, we are really jamming on this Absorbing Man here. Eventually pick up ESD and Range Combat Expert. And at the very back in the dial, we end up with Poison. That is nuts that we go from being this really solid range attacker to suddenly Force Blast Pulse Wave for even more damage. Really, really solid, this fire one. We're going to go down to E, which is the Diamond Absorbing Man. And what are we looking for? When we are dealt penetrating damage after resolutions, you may replace the character with Absorbing Man. Okay, so being dealt pin damage in either melee or range, it doesn't specify, just that it's penetrating damage. We can go into Diamond. We have a special attack power, Crystal Sharp Edges, Giant Reach 2, Blades, Claws, Fangs. Nice combo, especially with Ares that still exists on sidelines for, anything that's not sealed. When Absorbing Man uses Blades, Claws, Fangs, the minimum result is the target's printed damage value. So you are really swinging up. That is so good. Holy crap, that's impressive. Especially in a Hulk set where people are going to have 4 or 5 printed damage. That's our minimum. Super good. We're back to having no range, an 8 speed charge, an 11 attack with this special attack power here, 18 invincible, and close combat expert. So that is a 12 attack blades with your printed as the minimum. That's insane. We end up going down to stealth for a little bit on the middle clicks and then back to charge. We eventually lose the special attack power and get into blades. We keep invincible whole dial, and we will eventually lose close combat expert and gain exploit weakness. So clicks 4 and 5, where we don't have our move and attack, but we have this special blades and exploit, might be the sweet spot for this Absorbing Man if you're waiting to bring him in. And I imagine if you're getting hit with penetrating damage, taking 3 or 4 pin damage is probably relatively common from the people that have it. So I would definitely keep an eye for this Absorbing Man, because that is a mean blades you can hit somebody with. Pretty solid, but more situational than the fire one. Then we have water. It says when an absorbing man moves through water terrain or an opposing effect gives them an action token. We've seen a bunch of those. After resolutions, you may replace that character with absorbing man. Okay. We have improved movement, elevated, and characters, which is really nice. 3 range triple bolts. We have the dolphin symbol, of course, we're water. And then we have 11 attack with a special attack power called Whirlpool. Close. Make a close attack targeting all characters within 3 squares and line of fire. Okay, so basically we get Giant Reach 3, regardless of adjacency. Instead of normal damage, hit characters are dealt 2 damage and given an action token. Okay, that's pretty cool. It's like an energy explosion plus incap. After resolutions, any number of hit characters may be placed adjacent to Absorbing Man. That's really, really cool. So within 3 squares in line of fire, so essentially Giant Reach 3, everyone we hit, 2 damage, take an action token, and then we're pulling them all into us. Any number of hit characters may be placed adjacent to Absorbing Man. So we can really mess with our opponent's positioning, bring them all in, and then suddenly you've got their whole team all around your Absorbing Man, and you get to choose where they get placed. So you can take their backline support characters, place them on your teammate's side of Absorbing Man. That's a super cool power that we really don't see much of. But let's take a look at the rest of his powers here. We have 18 defense combat reflexes, 3 damage shape change, and we eventually get plasticity. Now, we only keep the special attack power for 3 clicks. And then we go down to regular incapacitate. We end up picking up impervious down the dial and probability control as well. Overall, very cool power. But because we only get it at the top end of the dial, you're really going to want to utilize this first if you're looking to use it. This is going to be one of those effects where if you try to save it for like the perfect moment, you're literally never going to get it. 3 range triple bolts is nice, but we do have charge, which means we're really not utilizing that 3 range very much. Especially because the special Whirlpool is also 3 range. So you'd really only use that down dial once you've already been hit, I guess. And then our final Absorbing Man is actually a bronze tag in the common slot, it looks like, which is very unique. We have Cosmic Energy team ability and Mystics team ability. We also gain a couple of keywords here, it looks like, or maybe just one. We gain the Asgardian keyword. And so what triggers this one? When a friendly character with an Absorbing Man trait is hit by an equipped opposing character. There's going to be a number of those floating around, especially in like an actual modern environment. Not really much for sealed unless there's more equipment than I think of in this set. And definitely not in pulp because those are not allowed unless you can generate them somehow. Well, I guess there are ways to generate it in like Black Panther and stuff. And then we have a... Wow. We've got a special defense power that we start with, which is Impervious. Absorbing Man takes a maximum of 1 damage from characters that are equipped or that have the deity or mystical keywords. There are a lot of those. A lot of those. So this Absorbing Man here is definitely one that's going to take you away from a sealed or pulp environment, and you're now putting these guys into modern, or trying to anyway. So let's go over the stats here. We've got 7 speed sidestep, a 12 attack quake, which I think is the highest attack we've seen except for the fire one. This 19 attack special defense impervious, and a 3 damage perplex. This is the first perplex we've seen in this whole set. And then we eventually go into charge with super strength. We eventually lose the impervious and gain invincible. And then we gain a special damage power that's Thunderous Blows. Giant Reach 2. When Absorbing Man hits, after resolutions, choose a hit character. Deal 2 damage to each When Absorbing Man hits, after resolutions, choose a hit character. Okay? Deal 2 damage to each other opposing character within 2 squares of the chosen character. Wow, okay. So if you have any way to get this person the ability to have multiple targets, because naturally we're only 0 attack or 0 range, 1 bolt. And by the time we get this attack power, we lose Quake. So we don't have a natural way to hit multiple people on the card. But if you hit someone, you choose a person that you hit, and then deal 2 damage to each other opposing character within 2 squares. None of this says instead of normal damage. So you're hitting the main person just like a normal attack. And then you're also dealing 2 damage to everyone within 2 squares. No line of fire required. That is very, very mean on a character that's this hard to hit. If you pull this character out of your pack in a sealed environment, is this good? Yeah, of course it is. You're 19 defense impervious. You're not going to really shine the way you want to because a lot of these special abilities require other things to happen. Like there's a couple of people with the mystical keywords that we've seen already, but we haven't seen any deities and nobody that comes with equipment really. But you are just going to be able to jam with this character, run in, do your thing. But from all the Absorbing Mans we've seen, these look like a really fun set to pull. Most notably, if you pull any of them, you probably want the A side to go with them, because this is the one that allows you to heal. We end up with, Empower on this dial. You want to play him with other, attackers. The A side is deceptively good, even though he doesn't have a way to move and attack. The Fire one is the best range attacker we've seen in this set, and explicitly combos with other things we've already seen. If you see a red Absorbing Man in your sealed pack, I'm windmill slamming that thing onto the table. The water side seems fairly niche. And the all white one, the diamond Absorbing Man, the E side, this is an absolutely insane special attack power with charge. So if I had to just pick 2 of them, I'm 100% choosing Fire and Diamond. If I got to choose 3, which, in a sealed environment, you really don't get that choice, but I'm taking the A side with it. And the Gamma infused, the green one, has an Outwit, which we haven't really seen anywhere else in the set so far. So really, if you see any Absorbed Man in a pack, you're probably pulling it. There's no reason to leave this guy behind for other things from what I can see. It just plays so well with everything else in the set. Overall, looks like a really well designed concept. If you're pulling the 2 main attackers out of it, easy B. In terms of like a ranking, this is probably as good as you're going to get without getting into high rarity stuff in a sealed environment. If you're pulling one of the weaker ones, a very, very solid C. I'd be much happier to see one of these Absorbing Men, just on average, than seeing like the 001 Hulk. But they're close. They're definitely close. So let's go to 008. We've got Craven, A, and B. So we have the Sinister Syndicate, T ability. I think this is the only one we've seen so far. So we'll keep an eye out for those big attacks for them to share. Savage Land, Animal, Brute, Martial Artist, Warrior. The trait is Sons of Craven. At the beginning of the game, for all friendly characters with this trait, choose a keyword. So we're expecting to see a few of them. When Craven KOs an opposing character with the chosen keyword, score 10 victory points. Not bad. 45 points, so he doesn't activate anything for Hulk or anyone else that cares about 30 points or lower figures. 0 range, 1 bolt, 8 speed charge, 6 clicks of life, which is really nice. 10 attack, no power on top, 18 defense with toughness, and 3 damage outwit. Just for having outwit in a common slot, that's solid. Always happy to see my support powers. So far we've seen prob, we've seen outwit, and we've seen leadership, all within common slots, which is really good news for a sealed environment. Not too bad. I wouldn't be very, unless I really needed the outwit, I wouldn't be too happy to pull this one compared to some of the other crazy stuff, especially coming right off looking at all the Absorbing Man. But not bad. Bit of pack filler. So C-, D+ kind of range. He's really saved by having the outwit there. So the B side, we've got longer hair. And it's The Last Son. When a character with Craven in their name is KO'd, after resolutions, modify Craven's combat values +1 until the end of your next turn. If that character has a Sons of Craven trait, also remove an action token from Craven. That's pretty solid. It really helps you out if you're pulling multiples here. This Craven is 125 or 60 points for 9 clicks of health or 6 clicks respectively. 9 clicks of health for 125 points is definitely below rate. You're normally looking for about 1 click of health for every 10 points. 6 clicks for 60 is much better. Let's see what we got for powers. Looking at 4 range and 2 bolts, which is nice. On the 125 spot, we have Hypersonic for 8 speed. Pretty good. It lets us make use of that 4 range. 12 attack with blades. Solid. 18 defense with toughness. And then 3 damage range combat expert. So we have our big ranged attacker here. Range combat expert, 12 attack with Sinister Syndicate means that any of your other Sinister Syndicates are really looking for this Craven. Unless we see another good option later on. And then we immediately lose it and go to 8 speed charge, super strength, and close combat expert. So we're only a ranged attacker on 1 click. And then we go into our melee mode. And for the extra 65 points we're paying, we're only getting 3 extra clicks, these first 3 here. Our 60 point starting line starts on click 4, and it starts with a 7 speed stealth, 11 attack blades, 18 defense toughness, and 2 damage perplex, which rounds out our support powers that we have access to in the common suite. We eventually lose stealth and get hypersonic for 2 clicks and then charge on the last click. We've got blades for 2, nothing for 2, and then we get the blades back. And then for defense, we go from toughness to combat reflexes back to toughness. For damage, perplex to range combat expert on the middle 2 clicks, and then battle fury on the last 2 clicks. Really, really sporadic dial of having to play him at 125 for our move and attack. Isn't bad if this is the only attacker we're pulling out of the set. But if we also have stuff like Hulk and Absorbing Man in the packs, this is probably the first thing I'm putting to the side, honestly. This would probably be the backup attacker I have if I can leverage that Sinister Syndicate keyword, or if I can leverage him being a range attacker with other things. But in general, like I said, I'm putting him to the side if I pick up anything else. Maybe if I pull a bunch of Cravens and we can make use of that trait. But even then, I think we're kind of in Disney World hoping that we always have +1 to all of our stats. So we'll come back to it if we see any other Sinister Syndicates, but right now I'm probably putting this Craven probably at the D+ level on the 60-point line. And then if you have to play him at 125 and can make use of his other abilities, you might go up to like a C+. But man, it just seems really fragile to me. Seems really fragile. So 009 has an A and a B side. The A side is Speedball, which we've got the Spider-Man team ability. Our keywords are Avengers, Damage Control, Initiative, New Warriors, Spider-Man Family, Thunderbolt, and Celebrity. Those are some pretty solid keywords. We have the Damage Control. Intern, where's my coffee? Power action. Choose 2 of the following effects in any order. Move 4 squares. Knock back an adjacent opposing character. Or Speedball can use Invincible until your next turn. That seems pretty decent. Of the damage control traits we've seen so far, this one and Ant-Man's are probably the most playable so far. And then we have this character is 50 points for 6 clicks, which is above rate, as I've said before. Improve movement, elevated, destroy blocking. Elevated and outdoor blocking. And then we have move through. So we can move through opposing characters without stopping. You really don't see those last 2 very often. But we start with a 10 speed force blast, an 11 attack, 18 defense, which is our special defense, which is super senses and toughness, called kinetic absorption. And then we have probability control. I mean, getting spider senses in a set that's not going to have a lot of precision strike sounds really good to me. Being able to move 4 squares and then knock someone back with this power action seems really solid. And then probability control, all for 50 points, tells me that this guy is going to round out a couple of teams really nicely. Definitely not going to be an attacker of any kind of... But if you just need someone to get up there as a tie-up piece, I mean, you can give this character Invincible with Spidey senses multiple turns in a row with this power action. So at the baseline, until we find something that improves this damage control trait, Speedball seems really solid, like a straight up C rank support piece that's going to stay around for long enough to make use of the probability control. And overall, not too bad. The dial alternates between Force Blast and Sidestep, and then alternates between the special defense and combat reflexes. For the attack powers, we pick up Precision halfway in the dial, and then we lose it again. And then for damage, we eventually lose Prob and pick up Close Combat Expert. So overall, not bad. Especially if we get to team player this Spider-Man TA around a little bit. So what about the B side? This is Excavator. Asgardian, Masters of Evil, Wrecking Crew, Brute. His special attack power is I shovel well. I shovel very well. I'm really hoping that's a reference to the Shoveler from, I think it's Mystery Men. One of my favorite movies growing up. And this special attack power is free. Remove an adjacent non-debris terrain marker from the game or destroy an adjacent piece of blocking terrain. So a really good way to get rid of some of the special terrain that I know comes in the set, or potentially equipment that's fallen on the ground, especially stuff that's, indestructible. At only 30 points, he is going to trigger stuff for Hulk and anyone else that might care about it later. But 6 clicks of health for 30 points is way above, or way below rate, I guess. Like, that's really good. That is twice as effective as you'd expect for these points values. So we have 8 speed charge, this special attack power to get rid of terrain, 17 defense invulnerable, and 3 damage. We end up losing charge and gaining sidestep, and at the same time we lose invuln and go to toughness. And at the very back end of the dial, once we drop to 9 attack, we go up to 4 damage. So not too bad. I wouldn't say I'm really blown away by this character. I love the quote on it. I would much rather have the A side than the B side, but if this is all we got for 30 points, you could do a lot worse. Probably a D level character. You're not going to be excited to have it on the team, but it might do something. Who knows? And then we've got Thunderball. This is 10. We have an A and a B side. A side is Thunderball. 60 points for 6 clicks of health. And our team ability is Masters of Evil. Our keywords are Asgardian, Masters of Evil, Thunderbolts, Wrecking Crew, Brute, and Scientist. We have a special damage power called I Have a PhD, Sir. With Outwit and Perplex, friendly characters with the Wrecking Crew keyword can use stealth. That sounds really good. I don't know how effective stealth is going to be, like I've said, in this set, but we do have improve movement, destroy blocking, so we're going to be creating a lot of debris, which could really help out if we're giving people stealth. 2 range, 8 speed charge, 10 attack super strength, 17 defense invulnerable, and this special damage power. We end up losing charge and going down to sidestep, losing super strength and going to quake. We gain toughness at the very last click of defense, and then we end up losing this special power on click 4, so once we're about halfway down the dial. I really like having Outwit and Perplex on the same piece. He's definitely not going to be an attacker, but move through blocking with both your support pieces, and Masters of Evil team ability tells me he's going to want to be up front. He's got enough health to survive a couple turns. It's not bad. It's definitely not going to blow you away like you want a bigger attacker, but Outwit and Perplex is a must-have in this kind of set. So I give him a solid C for just being a support character. We've got Pile Driver on the B side. Keep the Masters of Evil team ability. We have Asgardian, Lethal Legion, Thunderbolts, Wrecking Crew, and Brute. Our special attack power is Oversized Fists, Super Strength. Pile Driver may be given close or ranged range actions as free. That's really nice. Now we're attacking twice, especially if we can pick something up on the way. We are 50 points for 6 clicks. We have improved movement, destroy blocking, which is nice. And let's take a look. Speed is sidestep. Man, I was really hoping for charge with that attack power there. We've got the special attack power. We've got 17 invulnerable and empower. We eventually lose sidestep and get flurry. Eventually lose the special attack power and just go down to nothing. We lose invuln and get toughness. And we eventually lose empower and go to nothing. Anything that says make an attack for free, I think is very good. Especially because it includes ranged range actions. So you could sidestep, pick something up, throw it for free, or move our full speed and then throw something for free. So we essentially have a full speed running shot or full speed of charge if we're using the free destroy action after the movement. And then sidestep just gives us a little extra move to pick something up. All in all, solid, especially with empower down here. In a melee attacking set, if I see empower and Masters of Evil on the same card, I know it's going to be good. Probably a C+. Oh, I didn't notice there's a C side for 010. This is Wrecker. This keeps the Masters of Evil team ability. Asgardian, Master of Evil, Thunderbolts, Wrecking Crew, and Brute for keywords. We have a trait called Time to Get Wrecked. Unique modifier. At the beginning of your turn, you may modify Wrecker's combat values -1 until your next turn. Interesting. If you do, other friendly characters with the Wrecking Crew keyword modify their combat values +1 until your next turn. Whoa, that is really, really solid. And we've seen a number of Wrecking Crews here. Oh, that is good. Because we've seen a number of these Wrecking Crew people with like 10 attack, 3 damage. They end up dropping down to a 9 attack, 4 damage. Giving your... Let's say you pull a number of these Wrecking Crew pieces. Wrecker really brings this all together and elevates it in a very impactful way. He has 85 points for 6 clicks of health, so a little bit worse on the rate there. And it says, we've got a special attack power. I've got your mystically powered Asgardian crowbar right here. Quake Super Strength. We have 10 speed charge, 11 attack with this attack power, 18 impervious, 4 damage leadership. Really, really nice. If you can pull the rest of the Wrecking Crew, this gets elevated even higher. This is probably is a B-level character in terms of, really changing how the game plays when you put him down there. This is a must-kill character from your opponent if you've got these other Wrecking Crew members. By himself, he's also not bad. Imperv in this set, we have not seen a lot of penetrating damage, so that is just a straight up rollout. Leadership on an 85 point piece, that's going to work. And Masters of Evil team ability, plus we've got a move and attack. A 5 speed charge is just solid, especially with super strength where we can pick up something that'll give us giant reach. Wrecker is getting a thumbs up from me. That's a piece that I'm going to be excited to pull. Especially because it makes some of the worst pulls even better. And we're going to 0-11 for Hawkeye. We have the Avengers team ability. Avengers, Shield, Marksman, Martial Artist. It's not going to matter in sealed, but anytime we see the Marksman keyword, we've got to take a little mental note of it. Just for, arrows. We have the Eyes of the Hawk trait. When Hawkeye attacks, characters on a lower elevation than him modify their defense -1. Improved targeting, elevated and hindering, so sees straight through all that stealth that we've been giving out. 75 points for 7 clicks, solid. 6 range is really nice. We have running shot for 8 speed. 12 attack precision strike, really good. 18 defense, just naked there, and then 3 damage range combat expert. So we have found the main range attacker that's going to turn all your police into real threats. Especially because he's got range combat expert on here. We're already attacking 13 for 4 at range. Plus Avengers, so we're probably doing an extra, we're probably 14 for 4 now. If you put one police officer next to this Hawkeye, he's basically a 15 for 5 because they're getting -1 defense on the PD. If you put a second one on there, we're giving -2 defense to the people we're targeting, and we're up to our maximum 6 damage with 14 attack. This Hawkeye could potentially be a major threat. Even by himself, I like to see it. We end up losing Precision Strike and gaining Penetrate, Pinsai for 2 clicks, and then we get Energy Explosion on the back end. We eventually gain a defense power, ESD, on the last 3 clicks, and at the same time we lose Range Combat Expert and just go down to 2 damage. So if I pull this Hawkeye, I am playing this Hawkeye, pure and simple. Especially if we can combine him with someone like that Absorbing Man or the 001 Hulk to really absorb that threat up front, you're going to be able to do a lot of damage with a range attacker like this while everybody else is just trying to punch each other. Really solid. I'm going to put this at C+. Maybe even a B because it kind of turns on all the other police officers. So yeah, probably C plus B minus for Hawkeye if I was looking at it. And then we have Thori, 012. We have Avengers TA and Masters of Evil. Really nice combo. We have Asgardian, Avengers, Demon Legion, Masters of Evil, Animal, and Monster. Our first trait is, will you be my master? At the beginning of the game, choose a friendly character to be Thori's master. Willpower, but only if Thori's master is on the map. Okay. We have two different point lines we can use. 50 points and 30 points for 5 clicks and 3 clicks respectively. So both on rate, both are great. At the 50 point line, we start with our special speed power, Charge Flurry. When Thori attacks a character Thori's master hit this turn, modify attack +1. And that is for 10 speed. So 10 speed Charge Flurry is insane, always good. We have 11 attack blades, which if our master hit, that goes up to a 12. If it's our Avengers target, that's a 13 blades. And then we have invulnerability on defense and empower, which is really, really solid with Masters of Evil TA. And we're tiny, so we can even carry. Without looking at anything else, tiny size, Masters of Evil, empower, Charge Flurry with blades. This is a solid, solid common to pull. Whether you choose someone to be your master or not, like if that character dies or not, it honestly doesn't matter. I would very, very happily slam this on the map, especially if I have, like I said, the Hulk or Abomination, any of these melee attackers, shoot, even Wrecker, anyone that's going to stay up in melee for a little bit and really, swing repeatedly, Thori's getting a spot. Even if I just pull, Hawkeye as my main attacker, I am more than happy with Thori getting a spot, even though she's not going to be as good. It's still a Charge Flurry piece. At the 30 point line, we have this special speed power for 2 clicks. We lose blades and gain energy explosion. Oh, we have 4 range. I may have missed that one. And we go down to 17 defense, 3 damage, exploit weakness for 1 click, and then we get empower back. I'm not sure about that at 30 points. It seems kind of all over the place. We've got Charge Flurry with exploit, but then we have energy explosion for the attack power, which doesn't work with exploit weakness at all. Okay, yeah, I could see it. Definitely worse at 30 points than at 50, unless for some reason you really need energy explosion. But if I pull Thori, I'm playing Thori at 50 points, and that's just a guaranteed spot on the team. It's just too good and combos of too many things not to put it in there. 013, we have Lenny, I'm not even sure how to pronounce that, Lenny Ballinger, I guess. We've got the Shield TA, and we already know that we do have range attackers now in the set, the Fire Absorbing Man and Hawkeye, so that Shield TA is even better. We have damage control and shield for our keywords. And then for our trait, we have damage control. We're getting overtime for this. Friendly characters may activate damage control traits as free instead of power. And then free, once per game, generate a Fluppy bystander. So we've been looking for this, something to elevate this damage control from just a power in some way. Making it free is even better than I was hoping for. We'll go back and take a look here real quick. Our initial damage control worker is able to destroy blocking terrain and remove action tokens, which is super good for that to just be a passive ability now. That is incredible. Our speedball doesn't get much better, honestly, but you do get free invincible and move 4 squares, and then you get to do his normal stuff. Our I think that's all we've got so far. We might have one I missed. But really good. We have special attack, special damage power, empower, and leadership. So this is 2 leaderships now that we've seen with damage control characters. This guy and Wrecker. Oh, sorry, we've got Wreckers with Wrecking Crew, not damage control. So this is the leadership for damage control then. 30 points for 4 clicks of health, which is nice. We start out with 7 speed sidestep, no damage power, 17 toughness, and this 2 damage empower leadership. I don't know how I feel about putting empower on this character. Especially because we've got the shield TA, so we kind of want to be with the range attackers. Empower means we want to be further forward. And we've just got toughness, so we're really not going to survive in melee for very long. It's a little bit iffy there, but this was the leader we were looking for damage control that elevates those abilities. Let's see what his bystander does. Fluppy also has shield TA, so you're bringing in 2 shield TAs here. Sidestep for 5, precision strike on 9 attack, combat reflexes for 17 defense, and 1 damage. So you're just doing 1 no matter what if you land a hit. But bringing in the shield TA bystander is actually really nice for our range attackers here, because we're essentially giving people +2 range and potentially leadership because we've got shield here. So we could leadership for Hawkeye to keep him in the fight. That's solid. By himself, he's not very great, so I'm going to have to give him just probably a C- here. But with other damage control units or with a ranged attacker, specifically Hawkeye, he gets quite a bit better. Or anyone with shield, I should say. We may see better ones in the future. But that wraps us up for the commons. So let's go to the uncommon spots. We have 014, our first uncommon. Captain America himself, Avengers TA, Avengers Past, and Soldier for keywords. And we have a special trait, Shield Bounce. Once per turn, when Captain America hits, after resolutions, he may make an attack as if he occupied the square of a hit target. That is just make an attack, so we could do a ranged attack. And he does have 4 range, I'm seeing. So you could hit someone pretty far back, because you could hit somebody from 4 squares away with our 4 range, and then shield bounce an additional 4 squares off of that target. That's really cool. We have improved targeting, elevated, and adjacent, so we can shoot through adjacency, which is nice. 75 points for 7 clicks, for range with 1 bolt. 8 speed running shot, so we can really capitalize on this. 11 attack with no attack power anywhere, but shield bounce kind of makes up for it. And a whopping 19 defend. And we've got 3 damage empower. It's going to be really hard for me not to put this on the team with that 19 defend there if I'm just playing to win. Especially if you're an Avengers fan and you just want to use the cool shield bounce power. This Captain America seems like he's going to play really well, but not necessarily dominate anything. He seems to be more of a secondary attacker, largely because he's only got 3 damage in this set, where we're going to expect to see a lot of damage mitigation from these really big haymaker kind of attackers. Even against some of these damage control guys, you're not killing anything in 1 hit. Most of them have toughness and are going to be able to take 3 damage, and the person behind them is also going to be able to take 3 damage. So as a secondary attacker with Empower and 19 Defend, Captain America is going to overperform. If you're trying to play this guy as your big hitter and like the main guy that's going in and doing your damage, I think he's going to underperform. So this cap is largely going to depend on what team you put him with. But man, 19 Defend Empower in this set is probably going to be insane if you pull something else to go with him. I'm really liking that. And then we have, I'm assuming this is pronounced Desir, could be wrong. This is 015. We have A and B. A side has Mystics with keywords as Guardian, Monster, Mystical, Warrior. The trait is Soon We Will Be Sated. When an opposing character is KO'd, Desir and adjacent friendly characters modify their attack +1. So it looks like the Asgardians really want to be tight together. Our common Asgardian buffed everybody's defense by 2. So this is going to be pretty potent if you get a bunch of Asgardians on the same team, it looks like. We have improved movement characters, 30 points for 4 clicks of life. We've got 3 range and 1 bolt. And we're starting out with hypersonic speed for 8 speed, 11 attack blades, 17 defense super senses, and 2 damage empower. We have seen a bunch of empower in this set. If you're playing this set in sealed, expect to be clumped up in the middle of the map and just wailing on each other. We're going to lose almost all of those powers with 1 click of damage and go to sidestep, steal energy, and close combat expert. We keep super senses the whole time. With Mystics in this set, we have only seen 1 character so far that can reduce penetrating damage. I think that Mystics is going to do a lot of work, especially if we're on steal energy down dial and we can pick ourselves back up. This character is probably going to play a little bit better than most people expect. For now, I'm going to give it about, a C. This is just kind of pack filler. You're going to put it on your team just because it's in the pack. And hopefully you're going to get some good use out of it. This is a very good character to give out Empower, especially just for 30 points. And to receive Empower back on the dial. So overall, not bad. And if you get a KO, it's going to make all your Asgardians even better. The B side is Brune. We've got the Mystics TA still. Asgardian, Monster, Mystical, Ruler, Warrior. And this is our first unique, I think. The trait is Call Our Name and We Come For You. When an opposing character within 6 squares is given a free action. We've seen a bunch of those. A lot of people have sidestep, and charge gives freeze quite a bit. After resolutions, you may place Brune or a friendly character named Desir adjacent to that character. Oh man, okay. We've got some free team placement within 6 squares. We are 50 points for 5 clicks, so we're on rate. Improved movement characters, which is nice. 0 range and 2 bolts. And we have 7 speed stealth. So you're going to have quite a bit of chances to activate this ability, since you're not going to be moving and attacking or sidestepping yourself to get in place. 11 attack blades, 18 super senses, and 3 damage of this special damage power, which is first cursed. Leadership. So here's your Asgardian leadership. Brune and friendly characters named Desir increase their single d6 rolls by +1. I see why this character is unique now. So if you have both of these guys together, or just Brune by himself, we've got 4 through 6 super senses and +1 on blades, +1 on leadership as well. So you're succeeding leadership on 4 through 6 with just Brune. And with the Monster, Mystical, and Warrior keywords, we've seen a bunch of these. This Brune is probably going to do a really good job of keeping action tokens off your team no matter what you pull with them based on the keywords I've seen so far. And if you pull the pair of them, we get a decent bit of free placement. And of course, 4 through 6 senses on 2 different characters, and the improved blades on both characters is really nice. I think Desir works really well without Brune just by himself or themselves, and Brune works decently solo as well, but if you have a Brune, you're really going to want a Desir as well. Not necessarily the other way around. We're going to go to 016. We have an A and a B side here. we have Steve Rogers. I wasn't expecting an Avengers sub-theme here, but I'm kind of liking it. We have the Avengers TA and the Shield TA, Avengers, Shield, and Soldier for keywords. The trait is Captain America's Hotline. Once per turn for all characters with this trait, when a standard friendly character is KO'd, after resolutions, you may replace Steve Rogers with a character named Captain America of 60 points or less on its last non-KO click, then roll a d6 and heal half the Captain America equal to half the result. Interesting. The only Captain America we have so far is 75 points in the uncommon slot, so these two do not work together. We'll have to keep an eye out to see if we have any other Captain Americas later in the set. I hope we have at least something that works with this, especially for sealed. But as is 25 points for 4 clicks, which is above rate. We like that. We have 5 speed sidestep. Okay, nice with shield, I suppose. 9 attack with nothing. 17 defense combat reflexes. And 1 damage perplex. So we have 2 common and uncommon people with perplex now, which is good. And we've got shield on this. It's going to be okay. I imagine if you're playing in a like Battle Royale where you're passing packs around, this is probably going to be one of the last people to leave the pack. But if you have a range attacker, like I've said, the Hawkeye, the Captain America, or the Fire Absorbing Man, he's going to put in some work. It's just really nice having a perplex in there. Maybe a D+ is what I'm going to give it. Not ideal. But let's keep an eye out for another Captain America. That may really elevate this character. And then the B side is old General Ross. I expected him to be in here in a Hulk set. We've got the Shield Team ability. And then for our keywords, we have Hulkbusters, Politician, and Soldier. Trait is you have your orders. Leadership. When General Ross uses it and succeeds after resolutions, he may generate a non-unique, non-prime character with the Soldier keyword of 25 points or less on their starting click. Whoa, let me read that again. When General Ross uses it and succeeds, after res, he may generate a non-unique, non-prime character with the Soldier keyword of 20 points or less. That is probably going to have some modern or silver capabilities, depending on what's available. I do like that it says non-unique. That is definitely helpful. So a little bit harder to abuse. We are 40 points for 4 clicks with 4 range and 1 bolt. So on rate, we've got sidestep, TK. I think this is our first TK piece in the whole set, which is major. 17 defense, mastermind, and then 2 damage enhancement. So we have a shield enhancement piece that's also sidestep TK. And he's Hulkbuster Soldier, so he does work with Cap. He does not work with Hawkeye, but he does work with the Fire Absorbing Man because he's got Hulkbuster. So I think this General Ross is going to do great. Anytime we have a sidestep TK piece, you know it's going to do well. This is a solid C just for the support capabilities. And having Mastermind in a set means that with people with such big dials means you're not really worried about this guy getting jumped on with some of these hypersonic pieces. You can just Mastermind over to the person who can take the damage. Overall, really good. We have 017 Black Ant. This is a team player, so keep that in mind for our Sinister Syndicate, Spider-Man TAs, or Avengers TAs, Master of Evil as well. Our keywords are Avengers, Hydra, Lethal Legion, Shield, Assassin, Robot. Programmed for Treachery is the star power here. Jesus Christ. That's how you know I've been recording for a little bit. Our trait is Programmed for Treachery. Mastermind Stealth. When one or more adjacent friendly characters take damage from an opposing effect, After resolution, you may heal Black Ant 1 click. That's pretty good. We are 50 points for 6 clicks, 4 range and 1 bolt. We are going to start with 6 speed charge, a naked 10 attack, 17 defense combat reflexes, and a special damage power, which is Empower. Free until your next turn. Black Ant has normal size and can use Combat Expert. That's pretty good. We again have tiny size Empower, which is a wonderful combo. But out of the versions that we've seen already in this set, this is probably the worst one. Most of the others come with their own team ability that they don't need to copy from someone else. But it is nice that we can go normal size and get close combat expert on like follow-up turns to do some damage ourselves, because then that's going to buff us to an 11 for 4, which is always solid. So Black Ant's got some potential, but you need the good team player options to already be on the team, and is just more points than some of the other options that do the same thing. What I do like, though, is that we have 3 or 4 tiny size empowers now in this set. So if you're playing this in a sealed environment, be very aware that the damage is going to be higher than you initially expect. Like keep in mind who's going to be doing all this buffing. You're going to be hit for 6 or 7 damage more than once in these sealed games. Let's go down to Toad. I haven't seen Toad in so long. 018 Toad. Brotherhood of Mutants team ability. Keywords are Brotherhood of Mutants, Exiles, and Brute. We have the terrible Toad King trait with Leap Climb. I keep an eye out for Leap Climb as well, because the one-shots we got from Spider-Verse, one of them makes it harder to hit characters with Leap Climb, so I just kind of keep an eye for it. And then we have free. Place Toad in a square of different elevation within 4 squares in line of fire. So we've got a lot of mobility here already. And then we have the Persistent Pest trait with Plasticity. Once per turn, when an adjacent opposing character moves or is placed after resolutions, you may place Toad adjacent to that character. Good night. This character is going to be all over the place. Highly, highly mobile. And if you do manage to get away from Toad, he's going to just place himself next to you again anyway. So even if you have improved movement characters and can get away from this guy, you're not getting away from him. Toad is going to stick on you like glue. So we have 45 points for 6 clicks. We start with Charge for 8 speed, 11 attack poison, 18 defense combat reflexes. So without him sticking next to you this whole time, that's going to be basically a 20 always. And then Empower. He is not tiny, so you cannot carry him. But with Leap Climb and his free placement, you're going to be able to get him wherever you need pretty easily. We're going to lose the Charge immediately and go down to Sidestep and then pick up Charge again on the last click. We keep poison the whole way. Ooh. And then we have 2 clicks of combat reflexes, 2 clicks of senses, and 2 clicks of willpower. And then our damage is split half and half, empower, and close combat expert. I think this Toad's going to play really, really well. Especially if you're going against, big meathead kind of attackers. This Toad is going to stick to them like glue and make it almost impossible for them to do anything. On the flip side, though, he only has poison and 2 damage with the Empower. So Toad may be able to stick to someone like glue, but he's not killing any of these big attackers. He will, however, make it easier for you with this Empower, and you're going to be able to do some damage that way. But Toad's going to do a really good job of sticking on to these ranged attackers that don't have these reducers. Poison them down. If you run from me, I'm jumping back to you. And if you do manage to hit me, now I've got close combat expert and poison. So Toad is going to be a threat to Captain America to Hawkeye to the fire-absorbing man who just has senses. So really, really nice piece here who's going to really shine in some games and not be very applicable in others. At 0-19, we have Scarlet Witch, we've got Mystics, and we have Brotherhood of Mutants. Those are the team abilities and the keywords, Mystical and Brotherhood of Mutants. We have the trait, Turn the Odds in Magneto's Favor. Friendly characters that are adjacent or have Brotherhood of Mutants team ability critically hit on attack rolls of 10 to 12. That is super strong, especially because it also affects characters that are adjacent. So in this set where you're not going to have a ton of Brotherhood, I mean, we've only seen 2 people so far, having it apply to adjacent characters is massive. We're 60 points for 6 clicks, 4 range and 1 bolt. We are flying. There's not a lot of flyers in this set, so this will allow us to carry a few people that we wouldn't otherwise be able to. 6 speed sidestep, 11 pin psi, 18 barrier, and 2 damage probability control. Halfway down the dial, we lose sidestep and gain force blast, lose pin psi, and don't gain anything in return, and then we lose barrier and gain 18 defend. This character is a little bit overcosted for points in probably most sets. Like, I don't think I'm paying 60 points for this particular effect in Pulp or anything. But in Sealed or Battle Royale, this is really going to do some work. We don't have a lot of things that reduce pin, so you're going to get your 2 damage. She's going to be an okay attacker. And Barrier is really going to open up these characters that want to do terrain action. So you can create the terrain and then pick it up on the charge and smash somebody with it. That's an offensive barrier if I've ever seen it. And we've only seen prob on about 2 characters so far. So the probability also matters a lot. And that's on top of this trait. So I'm really liking this Scarlet Witch here. I think she's positioned really well in this sealed environment. Because with range attackers, you can really make use of this trait to go crit fishing. And you can use the barrier defensively while she's also an attacker. And then if you're really melee heavy, she's generating terrain for you to hit people with it, which is, of course, really strong. She's just giving you extra damage. And then we have Quicksilver here at 0-20. Brotherhood of Mutants team ability. He has the Brotherhood of Mutants and Speedster keywords. His trait is Arrogant to a Fault. Unique modifier. Other friendly characters that are adjacent or have Brotherhood of Mutants modify attack +1. That is really, really nice. Really nice. We've seen a lot of extra damage from empowers and whatnot, giving extra attack, especially in this set where we've seen 9s and 10s attacks be predominant. +1 is a major deal for these lower numbers. We have 60 points for 6 clicks, so we're on rate. Improved movement characters, which is nice for any speedster. Anyone that has hypersonic that's trying to do melee attacks, this makes a world of difference not having to break away. We have 2 targets, 9 speed hypersonic, 11 attack with nothing on it, 18 defense willpower, and 3 damage shape change. Halfway down the dial, our defense goes to super senses and our damage goes to prob. This seems like it's pretty good. It's going to be a little bit underwhelming compared to Scarlet Witch, just in terms of how well you can really make use of it. Unless I really want this Arrogant to a Fault trait, this guy's probably going to end up staying in the pack, unfortunately. Because I really like Brotherhood of Mutants just in general. And the more of them I have that I can play, the happier I am as a person. But in this sealed environment, the Quicksilver is a tertiary attacker at best. and normally you just don't have the room for the 60 points for what he's offering. But if you are a little bit light and you only have one main attacker and a couple of these, really cheap support pieces, he might really surprise you and elevate that attacker into someone who's swinging for 12 or 13 attack with multiple empowers on him. You're really going to turn your one big attacker into someone that is really elevated. And we're going to go down to Zax at 021. Brute and monster keywords. He is grounded by water with his trait, Poison. At the end of your turn, if Zax occupies water terrain, deal him 1 unavoidable damage. Okay, so we don't see traits that are negative very often. Probably more flavorful than anything. We have a 100-point line and a 60-point line. For 100 points, you've got 10 clicks, and for 60 points, you have 6 clicks. So both of them are on rate. We have 5 range and 2 bolts, so that's really nice. We've got another range attacker to make use of all this police and enhancement that's kind of running around. We have flight, which is again relatively rare in the set. 8-speed phasing. Okay. For 100 points, you're really looking for some kind of move and attack, but let's see what else we got. 12 attack pulse wave for our attack. We have 19 defense imperv, and we have 4 damage perplex, and we are also a giant. So we do have giant reach, and we can see over just about anything. Yeah, not too bad for a range attacker. I mean, 12 for 4 with perplex, you're not going to complain about that ever. And I'm assuming he's going to be single base, so if we have our TK piece with us, we can really mobilize this guy. On his own, he might need a little bit of help up at 100 points. So we have 2 clicks of this phasing pulse wave imperv, and then 2 clicks of sidestep, super strength, super senses, and we lose the perplex. And then at 60 points, we go right back to phasing pulse wave imperv perplex. 2 more clicks of sidestep, super strength, super senses, and then right back to our phasing pulse wave. So we alternate every 2 clicks on this dial. And at both point lines, you start with phasing pulse wave imperv perplex. Doesn't seem too bad. With poison, you're really going to, if someone does close the gap with you, you can poison, of course, as like a little defensive tool. There's not a lot of penetrating damage we've seen so far in this set, so your imperv and super senses are both going to go a really long way. And perplex is relatively rare in the set. This is the 3rd piece we've seen with it so far, which is nice. I think he's going to do a pretty good job. You're not going to be terribly impressed with the guy, but he's going to do the baseline. Like if you've got a TK with him, he's going to feel really good as a range attacker. If you don't have TK, he's going to feel kind of slow and sluggish. But with 5 range and double bolts, probably still going to perform decently. We're going to go down to 022 Quicksand. Thunderbolts, Brute, Monster keywords. Trait Unstoppables. This is the first Unstoppables trait we've seen. We'll keep an eye on it to see if there's more. And this is Unstoppables Quicksand. Traded Flurry. Other friendly characters with the Brute keyword can use Energy Shield Deflection. So our main ranged attackers here just got massively nerfed if you see this Quicksand on the other side of the field. This is a priority target number 1 if you've got ranged attackers. And then we have a 100-point line and a 60-point line. 9 clicks of health at 100, 6 clicks at 60. So pretty close to rate on the upper value, which is nice. We have sidestep for 8 speed, 11 damage poison, 18 invincible, and then 4 damage plasticity, and we are giant with quicksand. We have 2 clicks of those powers, and then we drop down to plasticity, quake, invincible, and shape change. And then when the lower dial starts on click 4, we still have plasticity and quake, and then our invincible turns into impervious on the low dial, and we drop down to 3 damage. And then we get our sidestep poison back, and then we go right back to plasticity quake, and then we drop down to toughness. And then on the very last click, we've got sidestep, precision strike, and the reconstituted special defense power, which is stop, toughness. Regen is free, but only if quicksand occupies a square with a debris marker, which in this set I imagine is going to be quite a bit of squares. And battle fury. So overall, seems really solid. This trait is phenomenal. And at the higher point line where we have invincible, there's not a lot of characters that are dealing penetrating in this set, and even fewer that reduce it. So she's going to feel very impactful there. And at the lower line, we have double rollouts. So quicksand is going to feel great to play, it looks like. No move and attack, but I don't think she's really going to need it. She looks like she wants to be in their face, tying people up with this plasticity, quaking, poisoning, and just punching people with this giant reach. I think quicksand's probably going to feel really good to put on the map. 023, we have Primus. Primus is Hydra, Brute, Robot, Scientist. Unstoppable's trait, Primus. This is shape change traded. When it's not your turn, opposing characters can't be placed or generated within 4 squares of a friendly character with the Brute keyword. I'm going to have to check a quick ruling on this because multi-base characters, the way they move is that you choose 1 square on the base and move normally with that square. And then the rest of the character, the other squares you didn't move with, are placed next to you. So I'm wondering how this interacts with that, but I don't think we have any multi-base figures in this set, so it shouldn't matter for sealed at all. But there's a lot of characters in the set with the Brute keyword, so making people not be able to be placed or generated is pretty important. And knockback is a place. Knockback as an effect is a placement, which is why we have this caveat when it's not your turn. That way you can still knock people back, is how I'd guess. We have 2 point lines, 160. This is 9 clicks and 6 clicks, just like quicksand was. We have 4 range double bolts. And at the 100 point line, we start with charge for 8 speed, 12 damage precision strike, or 12 attack precision strike, 18 defense imperv, 4 damage perplex, and we are normal sized. At the 60 point line, we start with sidestep instead of charge. All the other powers are the same. And then that imperv turns into combat reflexes down dial, which then turns into regen. And our sidestep eventually turns into flurry. And the perplex turns into empower. So Primus seems like he's going to play really well. He's going to get in there. He's going to attack 12 for 4 naturally without any other bonuses. This is one of those characters that's going to hit you for 7 damage with all the other enhancement and empower in the set. Of whether he's attacking from range 4 away or just charging in and punching, he's going to be great. This Primus is flexible because he's got this precision strike on the attack power. It doesn't matter if you're pairing him with the, damage control pieces or the police pieces. He's going to be able to play with both. So keep an eye out for Primus if you need a good attacker. I think this character is going to surprise some people and really overperform just because of where he sits in the set. A lot of the other characters here really want to lean into melee or range damage or combat styles. And this is a character that can do both and do both relatively easily. So keep an eye out here, especially with traded shape change. Like that is quite a big deal because whether he starts at 100 or 60, that's double rollouts with perplex. Primus is going to be a threat for sure. Keep an eye out for this one. 024, we have A side and B side. A side is Hazmat with the Avengers team ability. Our keywords are Avengers and Young Avengers. I love seeing Young Avengers. I play them as often as I can. Our trait is immune to what I produce. Poison, Safeguard, Poison, and Pulse Wave. Interesting. We've seen a couple characters now in the set with Poison, so that Safeguard will come up. Don't forget about it, please, if you're playing this character. We're 60 points for 6 clicks. And we have Sidestep for 7 speed, 4 range, 1 bolt. Our attack is only a 10 attack with the Irradiate special attack power. Power, generate a radiation smoke terrain mark within range and line of fire. This game, that marker has, at the beginning of your turn, deal 1 penetrating damage to each character occupying or adjacent not named Hazmat. And that doesn't go away. So the longer this game goes on and the more you can use this power action to generate these markers, you're going to be dealing 1 pen damage all over the map. Because that's within range and line of fire, so the shield TAs are going to help this out quite a bit. And that's something to watch for. If you don't have a lot of ways to deal good damage, like let's say you've pulled some questionable packs that have, just a support side of the fence, this might be a way for you to, still be able to sneak a win out with this ability, forcing your opponent to stay next to it, especially with a character like Toad, where you've got that plasticity and they can't run from it. Unfortunately, and don't forget this if you play this Hazmat, this marker that you're placing hits everybody, even your own friendlies, as long as they are not Hazmat. So do be careful not hurting yourself with this power too much. And then we have the B side. This is 75 points for 6 clicks. So 15 points more expensive for the same amount of health. This is Masters of Evil Hazmat. We still have Avengers, Masters of Evil, and Spy for keywords. We have the trait Hazard to those around me. We have Poison, Safeguard, Poison. When Hazmat uses Poison, characters she hit this turn are considered adjacent to her. That's nice. So if we can start the turn with a ranged attack and then hit Poison, we can now poison the person from pretty far out. We have the trait You Probably Shouldn't Have Done That. Energy Shield Deflection. When Hazmat is dealt damage from an opposing attack, after resolutions deal 1 pin damage to all adjacent opposing characters. Wow. So Hazmat really wants to be involved in the fight, and if she gets hit, she's basically dealing the, what's that team ability? The Mystics team ability in an area of effect around her. We start out with 4 range and 1 bolt, 7 speed with sidestep, 10 attack pulse wave. Notably, this B side does not have safeguard pulse wave, but the A side does. We have 18 defense invincible, which is really nice, and 2 damage close combat expert. Halfway down the dial, we lose pulse wave and get quake, lose invincible and get invulnerable, and lose close combat expert but gain exploit weakness. Well, we do have Masters of Evil TA with Poison. There's a lot of people in this set with toughness, so Poison isn't doing as much as you would normally expect Poison to do. But we do have Pulse Wave and ESD. Plus this 1 penetrating damage to opposing characters. So you're really going to feel Hazmat's presence in these games. The B side anyway. But I feel like it's going to be one of those things that's left in the pack quite a bit, because you're really only going to feel how strong she's going to be against these range attack heavy teams, thanks to that energy shield deflection. So I imagine this B side is going to be a lot more similar to the Quicksilver that we went over before, where sometimes you pick it up and it feels great, and other times you're like, why is this on my team? The A side, though, I think is really interesting. With how much damage is going to be floating around in this set with all the empowers and enhancements, I don't know how many turns you're going to get to use this Irradiate special power. So kind of one to just keep an eye out for. Maybe it's going to be super impactful, and maybe you're just going to get ran over. But I'm interested to see how this one plays. I can't get a good mental picture for this one just yet. I'll have to see it on the map. And then we have 025 D-Cell, X-Men, and Brute keywords. Unstoppables trait, D-Cell. We have the unique modifier. When an opposing character makes a range attack, modify their attack -2 if they're targeting a friendly character with the Brute keyword. Holy crap. Between D-Cell and Quicksand, there are some major punishments for not playing these brutes and getting in. If you pulled and are leaning into the range side of this set and you see Quicksand and D-Cell on the other team, you are not having a good time. Everyone you're hitting has +2 defense, and you have -2 attack if they're both on the same team. That is brutal. But let's see what the rest of D-Cell has to offer. We have 55 points and 25-point starting lines. So 2 different starting lines for 7 clicks of health and 4 clicks. So we are way above rate on both of those dials. We start with 5 range and 2 bolts. The top dial starts with 8 speed running shot, which is nice. 11 damage special attack, and that is deceleration waves. Incapacitate. When D-Cell attacks, hit characters have a maximum speed of 3 until your next turn. So really good at keeping people away from you. We have 18 defense with energy shield deflection. And then 1 damage range combat expert. So you are really just using this piece for this incapacitate max speed 3 power. Our lower line starts on click 4, which is where we start with sidestep, and we've just lost running shot. We have 1 click of our special attack power, and we have willpower for defense. We stay 1 damage the whole dial, and we don't have any special power on it on this lower click. We then go down to 10 attack and normal incapacitate for the rest of the dial. So very much way to slow the game down, keep these characters off of you. And D-Cell might be really well positioned to just slow down the game. Because if these big attackers can't close the distance and, actually hit you, well, it doesn't matter if they've got 7 damage. They're not actually going to ever touch you. And because she has 5 range and 4 speed running shot, she can essentially kite out anyone she wants and basically never get touched by the same person. So that's really interesting. I think D-Cell is going to overperform in the hands of a player who can position really well and make use of it. And I think she's going to really underperform by people that aren't really leaning into that position heavy game. She might have some very real considerations for Modern. Because making range attacks -2 if they're targeting a brute is brutal. There's a lot of good brutes in Modern. And that's it for our uncommons. Okay, we're finally getting into the rares here. There's not a whole lot of them, but we are starting with 026 Arcade with the team player team ability. We have the Masters of Evil, Assassin, and Robot keywords. And the trait, build a better murder world. At the beginning of the game, if you were the second player, generate a 006 Arcade on their starting click and up to 2 trap terrain markers into any squares not within 3 squares of a starting area. So the way this is worded sounds like you can place the murder bots the same way you place the trap train. So you'd be able to place the murder bots 3 squares away from the starting area and the trap train pretty much anywhere you want as well. If that is the case, that is very, very strong. Maybe we need a little bit of ruling on that just to make sure. And then we have a special attack power for the entire dial, which is hit the button, power, choose one, generate a trap terrain marker in a square within range. We have 4 range, so that's pretty decent. We can replace a friendly trap terrain marker within range with another trap terrain marker from outside the game. Very solid. And then finally, place a friendly trap terrain marker up to 4 squares away from its current square. So if you already have one on the map and it's not being interacted with, you're able to shift it even if you don't have line of fire or range to it. I'm hoping this arcade comes with these trap terrains, otherwise this is absolutely useless. But let's take a look at the dial. We have 50 points for 6 clicks, so above rate. And of course we're generating the common arcade. So we're getting even more value for free off the 50 points. We have 6 speed sidestep, the special attack power for 10 attack, 17 defense mastermind, and if you remember, these common arcades want to be killed. It's like the only thing that they're good at. So masterminding to them could be very good. And 2 damage outwit. I think this is only the 3rd character we've seen total with outwit. 1 at common, I think 1 was uncommon, and now this is rare. So that outwit could be very hard to come by in this set, making that alone reason enough to play this arcade if you had to. But it's really going to depend on how well you're able to utilize these trap terrains. I feel like playing this character is going to be fun no matter what else happens. Largely because you're playing this game on top of the game and like having fun trying to maneuver these traps around. I imagine playing arcade is going to feel like you are the villain arcade trying to maneuver these pieces into place, which by itself is super fun, and I'm all for it. I'm probably going to play this arcade regardless of what else is in the packs, unless I just pull something nuts. So then we go down to Taskmaster at 027. We have an A, B, and C for Taskmaster. So we have the trait Nice Moves. Actually, I guess I should tell you everything else first. He has the Team Player Team ability. Our keywords are Avengers, Hydra, Shield, Thunderbolt, Assassin, Martial Artist. So he benefits from almost every leader in the set. Our trait is Nice Moves, Swordsman, Sideline Active. Friendly characters with a Nice Moves trait that begin the turn on the map have free. If an opposing character within 4 squares in line of fire made a close attack since your last turn, replace this character with a 027B Taskmaster, then you may heal the Taskmaster 1 click. So a switching focus type ability, very similar to our Absorbing Man, where we're waiting for something to happen and then we have the ability to switch it. Absorbing Man, I believe, was just a trigger. It wasn't an actual free. So do be careful with this free, because it does mean that if there's a Brune on the other team, they will be able to free place next to you. So be careful with that. But we do get a free heal on each transformation. And so we have a special damage power, the entire dial. That kick that Iron Fist uses. Just capital knockback, which is always good, and close combat expert. Okay. If Taskmaster replaced a character this turn, he can use probability control. Wow. Alright, so we're punching and kicking here. For 65 points, we have 7 clicks, so slightly above rate. 0 range and 1 bolt on this one. This is an alternating dial. which is very pleasant to look at actually. We have 8 speed charge, 12 attack blades, and 18 defense combat reflexes and 3 damage. So with Close Combat Expert, we're swinging for 13 for 4 with blades. And then we alternate into Flurry, Precision Strike, Super Senses. And then we just go back and forth between those. We drop defense and speed a little bit as we go down. And we go down to 11 attack fairly quickly. But man, if you only take 1 point of damage, or I guess 2, because you'd heal when you come back in. So if you're on click 3, or any of these even numbered clicks, you have Flurry, Precision Strike, and you're swinging 13 for 4 with Close Combat Expert and Knockback. That's pretty nuts. This Taskmaster is going to hurt, and you're going to feel it when this guy's on the map. So let's take a look at the B side. The stats are a little bit different just at a glance, but let's take a look. How do we bring him in? He's got the same nice moves trait, but this is Hawkeye. If an opposing character within 4 squares in line of fire made a range attack since your last turn. So it doesn't even need to target this Taskmaster himself. He just needs to be able to see it. And the first one is the exact same way. Yeah, if an opposing character within 4 squares in line of fire made a close attack since your last turn. So Taskmaster just has to see this being done by an opposing character, and then you can swap for free. And let's see, we have a special damage the whole dial again. That time Bullseye played 52 pickup. Triple bolts. Improved targeting characters. If Taskmaster replaced a character this turn, he has Safeguard, opposing probability until your next turn. Very good. We have 6 range on this one, compared to the 0 range of the melee option. We have 8 speed running shot, 11 damage energy explosion, ESD, and 18 ESD. And our 3 damage special attack. And again, we have an alternating dial. We go into Sidestep, Precision Strike, Super Senses, and then we just alternate between the 2 sets. And it looks like that dial mirrors very closely the A side, which is really cool. And then the C side, let's see, it says free if an opposing character within 4 squares in line of fire was attacked this turn but didn't take damage. So the A and B side, you're looking for the opposing characters to make either a closer range that you can see. The C side, you're triggering yourself by attacking an opposing character and using either end cap or them not taking damage. So even if they just reduced the damage and didn't take any, you're still able to bring out this Taskmaster, which is pretty cool. We have a special defense power this time. That dodge Daredevil did. Energy shield deflection and super senses. If Taskmaster replaced a character this turn, he has Safeguard Outwit until your next turn. We also have an alternating dial here. We have 4 range and starts out with 8 speed stealth, 10 attack in cap, this 19 special defense, and then 3 damage outwit. And we alternate between that and looks like Force Blast, Precision Strike, and Perplex. So I'm really liking this Taskmaster. I think the C side is a lot more situational. You're bringing this guy out intentionally because you have to do the thing that brings him out. And you either have Outwit or Perplex. And remember, when you bring these guys in, you have the option to heal them 1 click or not. So you always have the choice between Perplex or Outwit here, based on if you take that heal or not. And then the more aggressive sides, A and B, both seem like they do their job extremely well. Your ranged attack version has 6 range, triple bolt, sees through characters, which is incredible on a map where you know people are going to be really clumped up in melee. And then the offensive side, of course, is swinging like a truck and is really going to enjoy the various empower pieces. And because you have that option to heal or not, whenever you switch into them, you know ahead of time if you want flurry and precision strike or charge and blades. So this character is going to play much better than you'd think because of that potential heal. I am probably windmill slamming either the A or B Taskmaster. If I pull either one, they're definitely getting put on the map just because they do their thing so well. The C side, I'm really going to need to either not have any access to Outwit because he gets that top dial, or have one of the other 2 options to bring him in potentially. So A and B look solid, C is situational. Then we go down into Giant Man 2. This is 28. We have an A and a B side here. So Giant Man 2 has the Avengers, Champions, Defenders, and Scientist keywords with a Pim Particle Formula trait. When Giant Man 2 uses willpower and succeeds, you may choose that he gains Colossal until your next turn. And you may place him adjacent to a friendly character within 4 squares. Wow! So if you succeed your willpower, which you're already giant, so you have a 3 through 6 chance, you can go up to Colossal and move him adjacent to a friendly character within 4 squares. So you can, if that character's 4 squares away, you can be adjacent to him on the far side and potentially move 5 squares just at the start of the turn. And that's not free or anything. It's just a trigger. That's really good. A lot of mobility. And then we have a special attack power for the entire dial, which is get ready for the shortest comeback in history. We have Quake, Super Strength, and when we use Quake, if he is Colossal, he deals 3 damage instead. That's super good, because we have a lot of characters in this set with invulnerable or toughness. So being able to hit over that or hit even harder through toughness is a really big deal. There's a lot of characters we saw in the common slot that are 4 clicks of health with toughness. So we have 75 points for 8 clicks or 30 points for 4 clicks. Both of them above rate, which is nice. We start on the high dial with 8 speed charge, this 11 attack super strength quake special power, 18 invulnerable, and 3 damage outwit. Holy crap, that's massive. One of the hardest parts about having outwit on an attacker normally is that you typically have to use your movement ability and attack to get in place before you can outwit somebody. But because of this trait and you being able to move for free to another friendly, you're able to outwit the person that you're about to just smash with this quake. So you can outwit first and then do your power, which is a major difference. This giant man is going to play incredibly well, assuming you have another person on the map that's alive that he can jump to. On 30 points, we go to plasticity instead of charge. We keep this 11 attack special damage power. We go down to toughness and then gain empower. And then once we take 2 clicks of damage and go to click 7, we gain close combat expert instead of empower. So whether you are on the outwit click and outwitting someone to do your big slam, or you're on the 30 points and maneuvering yourself to give empower to another attacker, this giant man is going to play so incredibly well. This is probably as close to a B-level attacker as I've seen in this set. I mean, he doesn't have a lot of rollouts, not a lot of defensive capability, but Colossal Quake for 3 damage and being able to move yourself and outwit first is going to be incredible. This giant man is a major threat. It should be noted, though, that he does not have the brute keywords. So D-Cell and Quicksand are not going to help him against range attackers. And he is going to be colossal, so he's going to be very visible for them. So he does have some key weaknesses in this set to be aware of. But I think he's going to play really well, and I think 9 times out of 10 you're probably going to get the first attack with him as well, because you're the one that gets to place ahead on your turn. So the B side is Goliath. He has the damage control, Revengers, and Scientist keywords. He has a damage control trait, which is holding up the walls. And remember, there's a character in the common slot that can turn this into a free action instead of a power action. It says power. Remove all debris markers from all unoccupied squares within 3 squares. Then generate a blocking terrain marker into each square that had a debris marker removed and has no other markers. Interesting. So if the debris marker is on empty terrain, you can use this to rebuild the wall, which would also be impactful for some of the trap terrain markers from arcade, because those are also going to turn into debris. So you'd be able to turn those into walls after the fact. Okay. I don't know how impactful that's going to be, but it is a cool trick, especially if you can do it for free. And then he's got another trait. Use small fries are annoying. Defend. Nice. Already good. Goliath and adjacent friendly characters modify their defense +1 when attacked by characters that are either tiny or normal sized. Oh, that's good. There's a lot of normal sized characters in this set. So this is just blanket +1 defense for adjacent friendly characters and himself. He's 50 points for 6 clicks, 0 range, 1 bolt. We have 8 speed charge. We have 11 attack super strength, 18 defense invincible. He is giant normally and has 3 damage empower. I do not think this Goliath is as good as Giant Man 2, his A side, but this Goliath is definitely going to hold up in play regardless. He's going to be a really solid secondary attacker with this 3 damage and power, especially because he's got giant reach 2 and can see over people. But importantly, this defend that gives +1 defense against almost everything in the set is going to feel great, because you're bringing your whole team or everyone next to Goliath up to a 19 defense just by default. You can't hate on that in sealed. That's going to be really, really impactful. Especially with all these 11 attacks. Like, you're making someone roll an 8 on the dice is just not going to happen very often, especially if you've got a prob on it. So 29, we've got A and B side. This is the Rhino, Sinister Syndicate. There was only one other Sinister Syndicate in the set from I think it was a common. He's got Magia, Sinister Syndicate, Animal, Brute, and Ruler keywords. And the trait, I'm Rhino. Unique modifier. When a friendly character uses charge, modify their speed +1. There's a lot of people with charge in this set, so this is going to be very impactful. Friendly characters with Sinister Syndicate, including Rhino, can use charge. Whoa, that's already really good. So he's got charge with +1 speed no matter what. And anyone else that can use charge also gets +1 speed. So you're increasing the reach of your whole team. He is a brute, so he does get to benefit from quite a few other defensive things in this set, like Quicksand and D-Cell. We've got 75-point line and 50-point line, very similar to the Sinister Syndicate super rares from the previous set, or chases. Improved movement, destroy blocking. We'd love to see that on a charge piece. 0 range, 1 bolt. For 75 points, we get 10 speed flurry. And remember, we have charge already, so you're charging for 6 squares and then flurrying. We have the special attack power, which gives you super strength, and if Rhino destroyed 1 or more pieces of blocking terrain, modify his damage +1. And we're already running through blocking. So that We're going to run through blocking and potentially pick up an object. Use our flurry on someone, and on the next turn, we can use a close destroy action to destroy the piece of blocking and get another +1 damage. So I'm really liking what I'm seeing already. We have 19 defend invincible, 3 damage battle fury. So he's going to be hard to take down with a 19 defense. And battle fury means he's ignoring some of the shape changes floating around in the set. At the 50-point line, we start out with 6 speed and sidestep. So that's a massive downgrade from 10 speed flurry. We keep the special attack power for 1 click, 18 defense, and that 3 damage battle fury. And then once we take 1 click of damage, we go down to super strength and invulnerability and empower. And at the very last 2 clicks, we get flurry back. So definitely someone you want to play up at 75. Rhino is going to be a mean attacker that also pairs well with other charge pieces, which there's a decent number of in this set. Plus Sinister Syndicate. He does end up getting a 12 attack for a couple clicks in the middle of the dial, which could matter for some of these other team players in Sinister Syndicate. It's going to be a good piece. The B side is Abomination. I was waiting to see this man in the set. We have Masters of Evil team ability. I'm already liking what I see. This is a prime, by the way. The B side Abomination. We have Aim, Intelligentsia, Lethal Legion, Masters of Evil, Brute, Monster, and Spy. Keywords. The trait Project Hulkbuster, which ironically he does not have the Hulkbuster keyword, which does matter for this set because there are some Hulkbuster leaders. We have opposing characters can't knock back characters and can't be given terrain actions. Protected Pulse Wave. So that's map wide. You're not allowed to hit me with terrain. You cannot destroy terrain. Actually, no. I'll have to double check that. Let me see. I'll double check here in a bit. But at minimum, you cannot hit me with terrain. And then it says, you are all beneath me as second trait. Charge. When Abomination attacks one or more characters that have the Brute or Monster keywords, or that can use Super Strength, modify his attack and damage +1. There are a lot of characters in this set that meet that criteria. This Abomination is already reading like he is a bomb to pull. This is probably just a straight up A and sealed. If you pull him, he's going to do some work. He's got Destroy blocking for the movement. And 2-point lines 80 and 45 for 8 clicks and 5 clicks respectively. So we're at rate for our health. We start out with 10 speed flurry. And remember, we get charge normally. 12 attack super strength. 18 defense invincible. We are giant with 4 damage of a special power called Uncrushable Foe. Battle Fury, Close Combat Expert, Shape Change. Abomination's other powers have protected Outwit. Whew. So, if you're attacking the 001 Hulk in this set, or anyone that meets this criteria of Brute, Monster, or Super Strength, you have +1 attack and damage, on top of your Close Combat Expert for another +1 attack and damage. So by yourself, you're swinging 14 for 6 with Flurry and 10 speed charge. Plus you have Battle Fury, so you're ignoring other people's shape change. And you have shape change plus Invincible. This Abomination is going to be an absolute bomb to pull and sealed. If you pull this prime, you're playing this prime. Which I shouldn't have to say out loud, but there we go. I'm not even going to bother going over his 45-point line, because if you're playing this character and you're not playing him at 80, you're not trying to win this game. Simple as that. So let's go on to 30. Wave. Agent of Atlas, Atlantis, Martial Artist, Spy, Warrior. Keywords. We have Hydrokinesis trait. When Wave targets a character with powers or attacks, after resolutions, generate a water terrain marker adjacent to that character. So targeting any character, it doesn't have to be opposing or anything, and it even could be herself. We can generate a water terrain marker adjacent to them. So Wave can pick up, hold, and use water terrain markers in terrain actions. When she uses a water terrain marker in a terrain action, she has knockback, capital, increases the damage dealt by 1, and after resolutions, the water marker is removed from the game. Now, if I'm not mistaken, if a terrain does not have the printed terrain values, you assume that it has the standard terrain value. So for her, that would be 2 damage on a ranged terrain action and +1 on a close. So if she hits you in melee with a water terrain marker, she's dealing 2 extra damage and has knockback. That seems really good. And then she has a 50-point line for 6 clicks, which is fantastic. 4 range and 1 bolt. She has Dolphin and 7 speed for a special speed power called Twin Blades and High Tech Suit. This is flight, flurry, and sidestep, which is awesome. She then has blades on her attack power for an 11 attack, 17 defense for combat reflexes, and 2 damage per plex. As she goes down dial, she loses the special attack or special speed and replaces it with sidestep. She eventually loses blades and gets pin blast, and she eventually loses perplex and gains exploit. It's a little bit of a non-combo to have flurry and blades while also trying to do terrain actions. I think I would have really liked charge with the twin blades and high-tech suit, but I think the idea is that you're going to be sidestepping up closer, throwing water at people, and then once you're in melee, you're going to be doing a flurry blades, is my guess. So, seems to be pretty well. She's looking to use those terrain actions at range largely. And then once you lose your special power, you're using it however you want. Pretty good. This character is probably going to play really well. 2 damage on blades in this set is not going to feel great. There's a lot of people that are going to reduce that damage pretty easily. But with flurry, should make up for it pretty easily. I don't know how much water there's going to be, though. She's the only dolphin we've seen. And with the different shield operatives that are in this set, with the shield TA, that dolphin symbol might come up more than you'd think, because you're going to have a few people attacking you from 6 or 7 squares away. So she should play pretty nicely from the look of it. Definitely a secondary attacker, though. You'd much rather have one of these big meatballs up front if you had to choose one or the other. Then we have 031A, which is Destroyer. This is an equipment, which does matter for that Uru metal absorbing man, of course. We have the Asgardian qualifying keywords, which we've gone through a couple of Asgardian pieces already, probably about 3 or 4. You've got a decent number of selection here. It looks like this is going to play the exact same way as the motorcycle or the goblin glider, where you're going to equip it to someone and pick which dial you're going to start on. You're then going to gain those stats and those powers. So on the top dial, you're not getting any stats, but you are going to get pin blast and toughness. This would be fantastic for any of the ranged attackers. I'm looking at you, Hawkeye. On click 2, we're gaining toughness again and close combat expert. This is probably going to be less useful in this set specifically because there's a lot of people with close combat expert already. And the people that want it already have something better than toughness. So that's a little bit niche in this set. And then for our third option, we have invulnerability with +2 defense, which is huge. And this special damage power, which is Armor of Asgard, gaining Colossal. Holy crap. That last click is absolutely insane, especially in sealed where you've got a lot lower attacks. Suddenly all your 18 defenses are up to a 20, and you're making someone have to roll a 10 on the dice to try to hit you before anything else. I would be hard pressed to put this suit on anything other than this last click. That is 2 defense is a lot. That's a lot. And there's enough perplex in this set to, put it up to 3 pretty easy. That's going to absolutely hit the field anytime you pull it. 031B, we have Destroyer again. This is not an equipment this time. We've got the actual Destroyer. This is a Prime. We have Power Cosmic team ability with the Asgardian, Armor, Cosmic, and Deity keywords. This is a lot. Let's start out with the trait Pilot, the collective might of Asgard. When revealing your force, you may choose up to 2 single base characters on your sideline that have the Asgardian keyword and turn them to any click. So really straightforward. Up to 2 Asgardians on the sideline, put them to any click you want. Got it. Next, we have Destroyer, can use the standard attack and damage powers displayed on those dials. So this is the standard pilot trait we know and love, where you get to copy the attack and damage powers, except we're now doing it to 2 characters at the same time, and all they need to have is the Asgardian keyword, which there's a decent amount in this set already. This is looking phenomenal. So we're already going to have our own attack and damage powers, and we're going to have 2 extra powers in each of those slots as well. That's incredible. Now let's keep going. When Destroyers KO'd, before removing them from the map, generate the chosen characters from your sideline on their last non-KO click. So they both come into the game at the same time, anywhere adjacent to you on their last non-KO click. That's a lot of value. This game, those characters can't be healed or replaced and are removed from the game without being scored if they would take damage. Protected Pulse Wave. Wow. So you're getting double the pilots and getting double the benefit all the way around compared to what we're used to. That is really, really good by itself. Now then, we have our actual point values here. We're going to start out with 270 whopping points at the main line for 10 clicks of health. That is not a lot of health for that much points by comparison. We do have improved movement, destroy blocking. We have 5 range, double bolts. And then we have 9 speed hypersonic with flight. That is very, very solid. And then we have 13 attack with this special attack power called Wielding the Oversword of Asgard. Once per turn, when Destroyer hits, after resolutions you may choose a character chosen for its pilot trait. If you do, give Destroyer any action as free, and it can use the standard powers displayed on the dial of the chosen character during that action. Okay, so we're going to hit somebody, and then we have this trigger that says we're going to choose a character for the pilot that is already chosen for the pilot trait. So one of the 2 we already have as pilots. We've chosen them. Once we do that, we have access to all the powers on their card and can use any action as free. What does that mean? Any action is your standard capital actions. So we have close, we've got range, we have move, we have power, and we have free actions. So we can't use special powers because it has to be standard displayed powers. But most notably what's going to happen here is if someone has flurry, we can use a capital close as free, and then use flurry that is a speed power that we wouldn't normally have access to, which is really nice. And I think that's what's going to come up most often. So be aware of this one. And then we have a 20 defense for this special defense power that is Might of the Sky Lords. Impervious. Destroyer can reduce penetrating damage dealt by characters with a lower point value than itself, which in this set is going to be everything because we have not seen a 300 point common or anything. And then we have 5 damage, shape change, and we are giant. So at 270 points, we're making potentially 3 attacks per turn if we have something with flurry we can use. At minimum, we can do 2 attacks because we can still use just a standard range or close as free. And we have all the attack and damage powers of ourself and the 2 guardians that we choose, or 2 Asgardians that we choose. Importantly, we do not have exploit, we don't have pin damage, we don't have precision strike. So those are the first things I would be looking for on these sideline Asgardians. And then you can play this destroyer at 150 points. He starts on click 4 and has 7 clicks long. So we have start out with an 8-speed charge, so we lose hypersonic. We have 1 click of our special attack power, which is phenomenal at 150 points. And then we have 19 defense invincible, and this 4 damage shape change still. We immediately will lose the special attack, but pick up probability control. After 2 clicks of that, we end up getting outwit for the rest of the dial. And at the back end of the dial, looks identical to the front end. We end up picking up hypersonic again, we get the special attack power back, and we eventually get the special defense power back as well. So if I open up this destroyer and sealed, I am probably playing him at 150 points and jamming anything else next to him that I can. This figure is going to be an absolute powerhouse to deal with, and there's nothing wrong with playing him up at 270 because that 20 defense is going to be so hard to hit. But once you do get cracked and you do drop down, you know, if you miss this imperv roll, you're going to be down dial pretty quick, and then you're probably going to fold up like a piece of paper against any of these really heavy hitting melee attacker teams that are going to have 2 to 3 empowers and enhancements on the attacks. So do be careful if you're playing them up at 270. Choose your shots really well. For 32, we have Bulldozer. We have the Masters of Evil team ability. We have the Asgardian, Lethal Legion, Masters of Evil, Thunderbolts, Wrecking Crew, Brute, and Soldier keywords. We have the Hard Hat Zone trait. When a friendly character with the Wrecking Crew keyword moves, before moving, they may generate and pick up a standard object or blocking terrain marker. Holy crap! That is really good. So, all of our Wrecking Crew members are going to be able to make object attacks every turn so long as they can move. And this isn't capital move, this is lowercase, so sidestep counts. With our crowbar gentleman from earlier, that's going to be really good. Because he is also Wrecking Crew, right? Yeah, Wrecker. Whew. So Wrecker is also going to be able to up their damage if they're together. And then we have 60 points for 6 clicks. 60 clicks would be outrageous. We have destroy blocking for improved movement. 7 speed with an improved speed power called Tear It Down. charge, but do not have your speed. So full 7-speed charge here, 11 attack super strength, 17 defense invulnerable, and a naked 3 damage. Halfway down the dial, we drop down to sidestep, losing our special speed power, and we drop down to toughness. Bulldozer's looking really good compared to these other rares. He is probably the least desirable on his own so far, but combined specifically with Wrecker and other Wrecking Crew members, he's going to really multiply what your force is able to do and dramatically increase the damage of a much smaller built team with, commons and uncommons. So if you're having some bad pulls and then you pull Bulldozer, you might want to take a second look at those packs because he may have just made it all playable. But if you've already pulled the nuts, like, if you've got Prime Abomination in your hands, this Bulldozer is probably going to get left in the pack. And then we go down to 033. This is another unique called Debris. Debris is an Avenger. With the Avengers TA, we got New Warrior, Celebrity, Soldier, and Avengers keywords. A special trait called You Thought I Was Terax. Toughness. Power. Generate 2 debris markers into clear squares within range and line of fire. Ooh, that is actually very interesting in combination with some of the other people that care about debris markers in this game. Specifically Goliath. Especially if you can make Goliath's action a free, you can essentially do a power action here, create the 2 debris markers, and then use Goliath's power or free action to make them into permanent blocking terrain. That's a pretty cool combo. And then we have the Telekinetic Trash Tornado special attack power that is all the way down the dial. Telekinesis, already good for sealed. We can stop there if we want to. This is the second character in the set with TK. It's going to be really hard to find in this set. So this is already good. Free. Choose up to 4 debris terrain markers within range and line of fire. For each marker chosen, deal an opposing character occupying or adjacent to that marker 1 damage. This isn't penetrating, so it's not going to hurt someone with toughness or invulnerable. And even if someone with toughness is next to 3 of these, this is 3 distinct instances of 1 damage. So you're not going to be able to surround somebody with debris, tornado, and then hit them for 4. You're going to hit them for 1 4 times. So toughness will still work. We're 35 points for 5 clicks, which is great. 4 range, which is great for this power action to make the debris. We start out with 7 speed Force Blast, 10 attack for the special attack power, 18 defense ESD, and 3 damage enhancement. We end up dropping to sidestep at about halfway down the dial. Enhancement turns into shape change. And then eventually this ESD just turns into barrier. Probably outside of her having TK, Debris is probably the rare I would be the least excited to open in sealed. But definitely opens up a lot of play patterns that wouldn't be available without Debris. So overall, this is our commons, uncommons, and rare set review. I will do the chases and super rares once the rest of them are revealed. But I'm really liking what I see here. In terms of our big hitters, if you're just looking for a quick takeaway, I would be aware of the primes in this set. I'd be aware of a Rhino, Giant Man, Primus, and then of course Hulk and Absorbing Man. So those are the characters that are going to be able to hit the map, stay on the map, and they're going to be able to hit over and over again. Kraven and Zax are pretty good backup picks if you're kind of hurting. I'll put Quicksand in that same category. Quicksand could honestly be in either one. And then as you get below that, you're really just looking at support pieces or tertiary attackers of Hawkeye, Cap are going to do decent work. And then, of course, your leaderships, your probs, and your perplexes. Los Diablos Officer, Valkyrier in terms of just support pieces. Thunderball is going to have Outwit and Perplex on them. So keep an eye out for that piece for support. And there are a bunch of tiny sized Empower pieces. Your only access to TK is going to be General Ross with Sidestep TK and Debris with just normal TK. So be very aware of those pieces, and if you see them, please slap them on their team. They're going to dramatically help you close the distance with your opponent. So good luck in your sealed. I know that some people are doing their pre-events pretty soon. So I'm wishing you the best of luck. And tell me how it went. Tell me who overperformed for you. I play up here in Canada, so we're probably going to do our release event a little bit later. But I'm looking forward to sealed for this set. It should be a really good time. So this has been Tokened Up. Drop me a like, subscribe if you sat through the whole thing. I'll do my best to put timestamps in the description for you.